So in today's video, I'm going to be setting up my 3 tactics to make sure that the fluid switch between them all is possible during games, before big fixtures, before the teams you are expecting to beat. But most of all, trying to make sure in today's video that I feel comfortable with the tactical setup I've done, and maybe it'll just motivate you guys to go into your tactics, make them slight adjustments, and become even more successful than you were before. Well, I have just spilled Monster everywhere, so good job me. Great start to the video. Unbelievable. So, we are here in 2047 with Egerson, and I've just lost in the Champions League final. So my team is knocking on the door of success in Europe, and my team is very young still. If we go on age-wise, you can see, so all of these players are under the age of 21, and we only have 4 players over the age of 25. So there is a lot of space for growth, but also there is the ability of players doing mistakes because they are young. So in Champions League games, I feel maybe the issue I have is I've always been unable to jump between a couple of tactics. I have had a second one which was a little bit more defensive, but I would like 3 options. I would like to be able just to quickly say, oh, let's go to that tactic, or let's go to that tactic, because the change is so small. The players can adjust very quickly, but also the instructions on the side are so different that it makes it a bigger change tactically. So my main tactic, my offensive tactic we can call it, is a 4-2-3-1 narrow. We have my goalkeeper and my 2 centre-backs all as standard. Then we have both my wing-backs on attack. They are getting forward. And then we have a ball midfielder on defend alongside a defensive midfielder on support, just centrally hanging around this middle area. Then we have 2 attack midfielders on attack and a attack midfielder on support, whose job is to link up with this area here. Then my portrait in front. And as you can see, the arrows for them are great. They have played together for a long time. They know each other's game inside out. So I feel very comfortable being able to use them players in this tactic. We go with just a balanced mentality, but we play shorter passing. We play in our defence. We are rotating between floated and low, but low is with crawl. My backup striker is 6'5", so he has been playing recently due to injury, so we have been floating them into him. But low crosses, we working the ball into the box, focusing through the middle because we're not playing with wide men really. But we do stretch the pitch wide anyway because we do need to make sure the gap between these 3 here is wide. Otherwise, if you don't select the wide option, you will find them 3 people really do sit on top of each other. Having it selected wide, they do just drift into these half spaces a little bit more. In transition, we are counter pressing and counter attacking, and our goalkeeper is distributing to centre backs, trying to make sure his pass percentage is high and we're not just giving it back to the opposition. Out of possession, we're pressing high with our defensive line a little bit deeper on standard. We are preventing short goalkeeper distribution and pressing more often when they are crossing that line of engagement. And we do have tackling get stuck in, because without that, your players will just watch the opposition drift by. So in terms of this tactic, I really do like it. I think it works well. We've used it for a few years now. Our players are set up for this tactic. Our players understand how this tactic works. And the players I'm bringing through my system as well, my academy, fit in this tactic really well. This guy, for example, has just played his first game of the season. And at the age of 18, he's knocking on the door now to start becoming more of a first-team regular. In his 3 years so far, he has only played 6 games for me. But like I say, he's knocking on the door now to get given a bit of football in that defensive midfield position. So my first thought is we need a more solid tactic when we are coming up against the likes of Bayern Munich, for example, who beat us in the final last year. Could we have gone in with a more solid tactic to come up against them? Could we have played a tactic which could maybe have maybe it got us over the line against them. And potentially. Now, my first thought is, okay, we're playing 2 defensive mids and 3 attacking mids. Could we just swap them around? So we go Anderson into the middle as a ball in midfield on defend. And then we go Maui drops here and we play 2 defensive midfielders on support who do have the ability to get forward still, and a ball in midfield on defend. Now, looking at that line, one of the only things I'm considering is, with this being a more defensive tactic, do we make him an anchor? So he really does get in between the 2 centre-backs, and it's almost a 5-2-2-1. Now, having the wing-backs on attack will make sure we are covering out here. The anchor means we're going to have 3 at the back. Them 2 on support mean they will still support the attack midfielders, and then the poacher still getting in behind the lines. Now, do I like both our attacker mids on attack when there's nobody in central midfield? Not with the shorter passing, I don't. I feel like the gaps are too big. So, could we maybe do this? So we're not playing football as much. We're going very much more direct. So we're going, if it's distributed to Xiao in defence, for example, he goes straight to Maui, straight to melee, in the crawl, we score the goal. A lot more direct. Now, in transition, we only have 3 in the attacking thirds. I don't want to counter press. I feel like that would be silly. But when we win the ball, I think we would need to counter to get people forward. Now you can see here the people who would counter are both my fullbacks, the attacking mid and striker. So they would remain quite still. So I quite like that. I do quite like that. Now, this is a more defensive tactic. So could we potentially be slowing the pace down? Yeah, I do think slowing the pace down, because we are using this tactic, probably expect now we're going to be the weaker team of the 2. So let's not rush the game. So slowing the pace down, I don't mind the idea of. Now, in terms of out of possession, I don't think we should be pressing high. Really don't. So maybe we go with that, with a mid-block and the low defensive line. So there is a bit of a gap still, but I don't mind that. I've never seen a major issue with that. Prevent short goalkeeper distribution, we'll turn that off because we're not going to be pressing high. Trigger press, I don't mind the line trigger press, because that just means when they cross this line, we do try to win the ball back. Now, we have narrow here, so we can't be trapping outside, I don't think, because that would be dragging these people out of position. And again, stopping crosses, I don't think we could have that, because again, it would mean that we are leaving our positions in the middle there. I don't mind that, especially as something to almost start us with. I don't mind that at all. So we've named it the 4-2-3-1 Egerson narrow defensive. So the more defensive option, basically, for that tactic. Obviously, if this was the game, Maui wouldn't be in there. We'd probably be playing someone like Steens. So they would work really well. Maybe we could look at the options of, for example, a playmaker or Segunde Volante, or a Regista, something. But maybe not when it is the more defensive tactic at the end of the day. So we've built ourselves 2 tactics. We've got a offensive tactic and we've got a defensive tactic. Both of them are on a balanced mentality, because that I feel like just as the game goes on, and balanced mentality normally leans towards the setup you've done for the rest, and the setup we've done does work well. Now, we need a tactic now which basically can unlock a door if we're struggling to get through. So I would say we need to be looking at something maybe with a bit of width. Maybe. So I think if we do this, okay, because we've got the likes of Dobry, who is a absolutely insane wonder kid, 20 years old now, signed for 10.5 million last season. He's got 20 goals and 39 from attacking mid, but he can play on the left wing as an inside forward. So we could look at potentially personalising him as an inside forward. We've got Crawl, who is our absolute poaching genius. Maui is the... See, I wonder if maybe in this type of tactic we would have a playmaker. When we've got 3 attacking mids, I don't like the idea of a playmaker because normally you will try to find that person. And when you have 3 players in that midfield area, I don't want to be looking for just one player. But with players out wide, there is the option to be using a playmaker, and Maui fits that really, really well on support, so he is dropping and linking up. And then on the right-hand side, I would probably use... We've got a couple of people who can play out wide, to be honest with you. We've got the likes of this Christian Overton. Overton, who we picked up for 5 million from Mulder a couple of years back. And we've also got, just returned from loan, as soon as Hinnerfoss were not using him, our 19-year-old Czech winger, who we picked up a couple of years ago now as well. So I think we would probably stick to just winger on attack on this side. And then we are getting the ball in then for the likes of Dobry and Crawl making it into the box. Now, in terms of our central midfield, do we need defensive midfielders, or could we get away with playing 2 central midfielders so they are just a little bit higher? I actually think we could get away with it with a ball-winning midfielder on defend and maybe just a centre midfielder on support, to be honest with you. I maybe would consider box-to-box, but I do worry the box-to-box gets in the way of Maui. It is something maybe, again, we can look into. And when I am selecting my tactical setup, it does take a few games of watching these tactics to decide some of the individual roles. Now, Dobry is going to be cutting inside, so Raslan on the left back can be a wing back on attack, and Fostal coming in behind Meyer or another winger. I think I'd probably just have him as a wing back on support, to be honest with you, because he needs to be supporting Meyer and he will be almost a backup to put the crosses in. But if we go on attack, they end up getting under each other's feet, which does become very annoying. And honestly, I think the likes of Chow and Ridger can do the job alone at the back. And we also have Owen Jones, who has been injured at the minute, but he is making his return soon, and he's now actually suspended for this game, which is a bit annoying. Returns from injury, gets suspended. Now, one thing I need to obviously remember, this is my 3rd choice tactic. It's not going to be used very regularly, but this is almost when we're struggling to break the door down in the middle, we're looking for a bit of width in a game. So I would say we're probably going to be positive, because this is a tactic we're going to use when we need to break a door down. So we're going to stretch the pitch, because that's the purpose of it. Again, low crosses. And I'm going to say focus down the flanks, because again, the whole purpose of this tactic is we're trying to get down the wings. Higher tempo with more direct, because again, we're trying to get down the wings. We're trying to unlock the door. That's the purpose of this 3rd tactic. You need to decide, if you come up to the Premier League, for example, and your tactical setups are all designed around being secure, maybe your 3rd tactic is a very, very direct 4-4-2, a very, very set up 4-3-3, all designed to go long to a target man. Then set it up for that. Use it for the last 15 minutes. We're going to counter press, we're going to distribute quickly, and we're going to distribute to the flanks in terms of our... No, do you know, we're going to continue to distribute centre back, because, again, keepers so many times give the ball away, and then you're just trying to battle to get it back. Out of possession, we're going to press high. We are going to press high. We're going to get stuck in, prevent and trigger press much more often. And we are going to trap outside, and we're going to stop crosses. So the whole purpose of that, now, we have wingers, we have our wing backs. When their wingers get the ball, we are on them. We are blocking the cross. We are trying to press them there and then. Where the other option is you kind of get in your shape, get tight, welcome the cross, header it away, win that ball, move on. Now, as you can see, we have a lot, and I mean a lot of instructions on there. But this team has been together for a lot of years. My squad has been together for a lot of years. I personally have managed 1,125 games in this journey. This tactic, this team, can rotate between all of these. Now, you can see familiarity. We are fluid in pretty much everything except some of the roles and duties, and that's because a couple of people like Anderson in defensive mid is fairly new. We go to the 2nd tactic. Fairly familiar. Trigger press is a bit awkward. So maybe maybe we could look at the trigger press. So they're used to the mid block. Would they be a bit more comfortable there? Yes, they would be. As you can see straight away, it went up. But we are going to stick that. They're going to have to get used to it, basically. And we go to the wide tactic. And the only issue they've got is the positions, role, duty side. But they are competent. So they are going to do a good job with it. Now, one thing I would do when I'm implementing a new tactic into the setup, I would make sure we are told to focus on our training on that tactic to make sure they are used to, because the other two they've used for a few years now, where that last one is fairly new and it might take them time to get used to. But this was a video just showing how I've pieced together 3 tactics. It didn't take me long. Now, yes, if you are new into a club, it'll take you longer, but just take your time, build 3 tactics which can all link together. There's a big chance that all 3 of them tactics I can switch to in a game without making a single substitution, and that I find is key. If you can switch between tactics depending on the game situation and not have to make a change to do that, you can be onto a winning situation where once your players get used to it, you can get over that line. And like I say, we won the Champions League 3 years ago. We just finished runners-up. We are knocking on the door for our 2nd Champions League win. These changes might, or should, or will get me over the line. You will see on the screen now the people who are patrons or monthly members through YouTube. If you do want to join, links are in the description below. The YouTube one, you can just click that join button next to where the subscribe button is, or go into the description if you want to become a Patreon member. Links are below. Thank you for your support, and hopefully I will see you on the next video.